Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while again. I can only apologise. I've been a lot more consistent on Instagram, so especially for you YouTube folk who only follow me on YouTube, make sure you do go and follow me on Instagram because I am way more active on it compared to here. I think my last post on YouTube was about 8 months ago. So yeah, I apologise in advance. But today I have a little bit of an information video for you. I posted this picture on Instagram the other day, and a couple of you asked me to go into some things that I did when I was transitioning to natural, so some tips and tricks basically for transitioning to natural hair. So let's just get right into the video because Lord knows, even though we're in quarantine, I don't really want to be sat here for that long. Tip number 1, patience. Please do not think that your hair is going to grow overnight because it isn't. That's not how it works. It's going to take a long time. It took me about 2.5 years, I would say, for mine to grow out to a length where I was comfortable to chop it off. I didn't big chop, I transitioned, so I let it grow out, and then when I felt comfortable I chopped it off. So that process took about 2.5 years, which actually I didn't really think that was that long, but I think before I realised I was transitioning, my hair started to grow out anyway, so I wasn't in a position where all of a sudden I was like clock watching waiting for my hair to grow. It wasn't like that for me. It was kind of like what's the word? It wasn't like spur of the moment. Mine had kind of been like a gradual process to transitioning. Please, when you're transitioning, do not get disheartened. If you see someone else with hair that's similar to yours, which is growing a lot faster, please do not think that that's normal, because whatever's normal is what your hair is doing. I guess there are averages of hair growth, but it's your hair. It's completely different to everyone else's, so please, as well as being patient, don't compare your hair to anyone else's, because that's going to make your situation 10 times worse and it's going to make you feel horrible. So please don't do that, especially if you're looking at people who have a tighter curl pattern to you or a looser curl pattern to you. So for example, if I had 4C curls, which was really thick and really dense, I would not expect my hair to grow in the same way as someone who has 2C curls. That's just not going to happen. You know, afro hair, type 4 hair, some type 3 hair as well will grow out and up. It's not going to grow out and down. So try and be a bit realistic with your expectations with your hair, basically what I'm saying. So what have I covered in that? Like patience, don't compare yourself to others, and be realistic. That was my last one. So that's kind of like a 3-in-1. I say patience involves those 2 different things as well. So yeah. Next thing, tip number 2, make sure that as well as wanting your hair to grow out of your scalp, make sure that you're retaining the length on your ends. So this is a lot easier if you've big chopped, I guess, and it's a lot harder if you're transitioning. If you're transitioning, what I will say is take care of those ends as much as you can, because obviously they're going to be quite straight. The point where your natural curl pattern meets the broken hair and the damaged hair of the relaxer, that is the most fragile part of your hair, so that's likely to break off. But obviously it's still your hair, so you want to protect it as much as you can, and that goes with the same as when you're growing out your natural hair. If you want to get it to that length, you still need to be looking after your ends and those points of your hair, and those parts of your hair that are a little bit more fragile, and those parts of your hair that might be at more risk of damage. So one thing I would recommend to deal with that is please invest in satin bonnets, silk pillowcases, satin pillowcases, satin scrunchies. They are so worth it, and you'll see a massive difference. When I was growing up, my mum used to put tights on my head at night, and I can actually see the difference between wearing tights and wearing a bonnet now, which I would never have known unless I invested my money in it. So I definitely recommend doing that. Another thing is deep conditioning. Now, There are different types of deep conditioners, but I'm not going to go into that in this video. What I would say though is make sure that you're doing them weekly. This is what I did when I first started. I always used to use the I think it's Africa's Best. Is it Africa's Best? Africa's Best Organics hair mayonnaise. That was my go-to for everything. But I would also recommend maybe every other week doing a homemade hot oil treatment or a homemade deep conditioning masks. I'll do a recipe for that if you want to. I'll do that in a different video as well. Because they did my hair the world of good, honestly. I think that those are the homemade masks and the homemade hot oil treatments are what made my hair stay moisturized for the longest amount of time instead of buying like a shop bought mask. And they're also a little bit more cost effective, especially if you're someone, especially if you're like a school student. I was a school student when I first transitioned. Sorry, let me focus. I was a school student when I first started to transition my hair, so I didn't have money to go to the hair shop and spend on loads of products. So using things that are in the house is a really good way to get started. I have no idea if this is making sense. I hope it is. I feel like I've not done tips as in very clear tips, but I guess it's all useful information to you anyway, so I'm going to carry on. Tip number 3. Try and do hairstyles that are going to protect both types of hair if you're transitioning. So when I was transitioning and I had the straight bits at the end and my natural hair at the root, I did a lot of braid outs. I didn't even know that was what they were. I was copying my white friends, because all my straight haired white friends at school, they would plait their hair overnight, take it out and have like wavy hair in the morning. So I decided, oh, I'll do the same, because, you know, I thought that was like the thing to do. So I started doing it and it actually really worked well for my hair. I used to use I think it was Aussie Moist. I think I used to use their conditioner as a leave-in conditioner for when I plaited my hair. Wouldn't necessarily recommend that now, but you could use any leave-in conditioner or even like a hair cream. I wouldn't recommend using a gel unless you're using a leave-in conditioner with it as well. So either leave-in conditioner and gel, leave-in conditioner that has hold, or a curl cream. Now that we've cleared that up, I can continue with what I was saying. So yeah, doing braid outs and was a really good way of blending those two textures together. The same with twist outs, and I think bantu knots maybe as well. But obviously you also have protective styles that you can do with extensions as well. Things like braids. Faux locks I wouldn't recommend if you are transitioning, just because they can pull on your hair a little bit. But also you can do things like passion twist, you can buy wigs, things like that. Things that are either going to protect your hair, or things if you're still a little bit self-conscious of showing your natural hair so short. If you're not sure about doing protective hairstyles yourself, such as braid outs and twist outs, wigs and doing protective styles like box braids are a really good way around it. Okay, so my last tip is to always make sure that you're cleansing your hair. Cleanse your hair every single week. I know that there's a lot of people who would push you to use a co-wash or use a conditioner only before going in with a deep conditioner. Please don't do that. Please at least cleanse every 2 weeks, I would say, at least. Because you need your scalp to breathe, basically. If you're not shampooing your hair well, you're just going to get loads of build-up and it's going to stop your hair from growing, basically. So make sure you're shampooing regularly. I would recommend investing in a scalp brush or a shampoo brush. Oh So Curly have a really good one, which I use religiously, and I hate it when I forget to use it on wash day. Absolutely hate it. It makes a massive difference. It really gets rid of the products that's stuck on your scalp. So imagine if you're trying to grow your hair out but you've got product blocking your scalp, your hair's not going to grow out of it, is it? So it's all about kind of using your brain, thinking logically about things that you're doing that will make a difference, and listen to your hair as well. That's a really big one. If your hair feels like it needs washing, wash it. Don't just leave it because some influencer has told you to only wash your hair once a month. Wash it when you feel like it needs washing. Listen to your hair. That's probably the biggest and best advice I can give you to be honest. Okay, so I think that's it. I don't know how many tips I've given you. So I don't know why I decided I was going to number them, to be honest. They're kind of interlap with each other. So yeah, I hope some of you found this useful. Please let me know if you have any tips that you use while you're transitioning. Please drop them in the comments below, and let me know if you're in your transitioning journey, if you're in your natural hair journey. Please let me know how it's going. Last thing, please make sure you follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. Both are pennyfroreal. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you next time.